I'm going to show you how I create mp3 files. I'm going to use the Pavan score, which you don't have to have open, but if you do, you can follow along. This is a program I've been using for probably 20 years called Harmony Assistant. You can see that down the bottom right, there is what looks like a stage, and that's the virtual singer. It's a companion piece. To create an mp3 file using this program, what I want to do is recreate the score. I got File New. And when I do that, it gives me a dialog box with a bunch of possible templates. And you can see in the middle of the template on the left, it has a bunch of different configurations of choirs. Now this piece, Pavan, has no accompaniment, so it's a cappella and it's SATB. So I choose this second one, a cappella SATB voice quartet. And it gives me in the middle, it tracks my progress here. So I've got an SATB. Just to the right of the dialog box over here, I do the tempo, key signature, and time signature. So I've picked the tempo. The default is 1/4 note is 120 beats per minute, 120 quarter notes per minute. And I know it's a bit slower, so I'm just going to change that to 110 and press OK. And you'll see the 110 appear here. Then the key signature is 1 flat, and this looks like a B, but these are actually flats down here. So I switch this to 1 flat. So now I've got 1 flat in here. You'll see it's 4/4 time. That's the default. But the actual time is cut time or 2/2 time. So I have to change that in under time signature. And you can see the green highlighted there. That's 4 beats per measure. So I change that to 2 beats per measure. And it's 2 half notes per measure. So that's the time. And here is the blank score with soprano, alto, tenor, bass. And there's a line in here in the middle in between these staves. And that's where the lyrics will go. If you look at the bottom right, the virtual singer now has these little people on the stage, a soprano, tenor, bass, and alto. And I usually just switch these guys around because I think of them as soprano, alto, tenor, bass. So I just move them around like that. The first thing I do when I see a score is I look and see if there's an incomplete bar to start, because there often is. And sure enough, on Pavan, the first bar is only 1 half note rather than 2 half notes. I can add an incomplete bar. If I go down to edit and bars, there's insert an incomplete bar. It's a very common thing. So in here, I can insert an incomplete bar before bar 1. And it gives me the duration. This gives the default as a whole note. So I'm going to scroll down to a half note. So before bar 1, we'll get a 1/2 bar. And at this point, you can see that my tempo marking has moved over 1. It probably doesn't make a lot of difference, but I'm going to move it back. So I'm ready to go now to start adding in the notes. I'm just going to do the soprano and bass just for demo. I'm going to start by going down to this palette down here to allow me to pick a half note. And if I look at the score, I see that sopranos, I'm going to put all the half notes in first, and then I'll put the quarter notes in after. The first half note is a G. If I put that in there, you can hear that soprano sing the G. And there's a B flat and a B flat. Okay, so that's the first thing I do is I just work on 1 note value at a time. So the next thing I do is go for the quarter notes. And the quarter notes for the second bar of the soprano is a G, an F sharp, a G, and an A. And I actually put them in backwards. The notes will shift across as I put them in. So I put in the A, and it moves across. Then I put in the G, and the next one is an F sharp. I'm going to leave the accidental till after. So I've got the 2 G's, the A, and then that's a half note. So now I need the F sharp. So down here, I can choose an accidental. So if I choose the accidental, and I've already chosen the quarter note, that means I can put an F sharp. Okay, so that's the first set of quarter notes. I'll get rid of the sharp now. And there's another 6 quarter notes in between these other 2 half notes. The last quarter note is an A, 2 B flats, a C, and a B flat. Now that's all of the notes in the first system for the soprano. So if I press the space bar, which is play, this is what it sounds like. So the default is, since there's no lyrics, the soprano is just singing la. So the next thing I do, now that I've got all the notes in, I'll put in the lyrics in this little space here. So it's B-E-L, le, belle, qui tient ma vie, dash. Every time I press a space bar or a dash, the cursor moves underneath the next note. Vie captive, tive dans tes yeux. Okay, so if I press a play again, the space bar, she's singing it, trying to sing it in English. And that's what that flag is for underneath these players, is that's the language that's assigned to them. So if I click on that flag, you got about 25 different languages here that can choose, including Romani and Greek and Czech and Catalan and everything. What we want is French. So that indicates standard French. So now if I press play, there, perfect French accent, right? It gives you the pitch and the time value. So that's the soprano. Now I said I'd do the bass. So I'm going to go over at the bottom right to the bass and change the bass to French. If I go to, if I open up a Word document, see I've typed in all of those as if I were typing it in the harmony program. And I press Control C where I would normally type the bass. I will put the lyrics in there, but I realized I just have to put the notes in first. So let's do that again. So I'm putting for the bass, the half notes, 2 B flats and a G. I'll just put them in. Oops, 2 B flats and a G. And if I pick the quarter notes, the last note in the second bar is an F and a G and a D and a G. Those are the 4 in between the first 2. We've got an E flat, which I'll do after, D, C, and 2 B flats. So now I pick up the accidental down here, the flat. So now I would normally type in the lyrics, but as I copied them from my Word document, if I press Control V, there they all are. So what I'll do at this point, I'm going to mute the soprano, upper left, this green speaker. I'll mute that and play the bass. Now the bass I don't really like because the default bass scoops. I like to do a bit of interpretive thing. So what you can do, if I double click on the bass, it gives me the chance to edit the bass singer. Here he is here. And I did that edit back in 2017 to get rid of that scoop and to clean it up other ways. So now, right now you can see in the green down here, the default. I want to change it to what I fixed it as. So I press OK now, and I'll play it again. So it's a lot cleaner. So that's everything. So if I want to create an MP3 file, I do a separate one for each voice. I use this stage here, and it lets me just push the bass to the back of the stage so he's not quite so loud. Move him up a little bit so we can actually hear him. Now if I press play, oops, and I'll unmute the soprano. You see, that's how I create the emphasized for the soprano. Now to create the MP3 file, I go File, Export, and export down here to an MP3 file. Simple as that. So I say Save, OK, and I give it a name. And this one, the name I'm going to give it here is Pavane Demo, and I'll S for soprano. Okay, so that's saved now. So the next thing I do is I go to my website. I log in because I own the website and I do all the stuff in the background. And here's where I get to add, over on the left, I want to add a new file, the one that I just created. And what I want to do is upload this Pavane demo that I just created. And here it is, gives you the progress. It's very quick. And I'll copy the URL that WordPress has assigned to it. And now I'll go to the page where the Jubilati Singers is, and I'll add it. So these are all tables that I've created. And the last 5 that I created most recently are for the Jubilati Singer, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and all voices. So what I want to do is I want to edit the soprano table. So you can see these are all the songs that are there already that I've created. And when I want to add a new row, which I do for this, I can just choose an existing one and I duplicate it. And that way, all I have to do is change this to Pavan demo and soprano. And over on this area here, this is where the magic happens, where when you push the button on the website, it points to the URL that I copied from the media area. And this is the URL that exists there now because I just copied it. And what I want to do is press Control V, and now you can see it says Pavan demo. So that's what's going to play audio MP3. But there are actually two functions. You can also download my MP3 to your own device. So there's two functions, and so it has to point to that URL twice. So now what I'll do is I'll save the changes, and I'll show you what that's look like, and we'll play it from the Abracadabra website. So this is what Abracadabra looks like if you haven't been here yet. And this is Jubilati Singers, all voices, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, where I put all the MP3s. So if I go to soprano, you'll see this Pavan demo. And if I press play, soprano and the bass. So that's how we got there. The actual full version of it is just below here. All the voices are there. The other thing I wanted to show you is how I created the Kyrie from somebody else's work. Somebody else created a MIDI file, no voices in it, but all of the instrumentation. So I can import a MIDI file. I saved it to my files. So when I bring this in, this is the MIDI file that somebody else created. I see it. If I press play, there's a bassoon is playing the bass. So what I want to do, if I add a staff here, it gives me the options to adding a staff, and I want to put it underneath the bassoon to just make it easy to copy. And the kind of staff, if I scroll down, one of the things I can do is add bass with lyrics right there. So I can add that, and it will appear underneath the bassoon, empty. If I press OK, it will appear right there. So now what I can do, I can use this select tool, and I copy all of the bassoon notes. I go right to the very end of the Kyrie and shift enter, and that picks all, and then Control C to copy. And go back to the beginning of the bass, press Control V, and all of the notes are now in the bass clef as well as a bassoon. So I'm just going to get rid of the bassoon. I do that by highlighting the bassoon and pressing delete and say, yes, I want to press that. Say, okay. Now the bassoon is gone, but the bass is there. And there's a space for the lyrics. And you can see down here on the virtual singer stage, we have a bass with a question mark underneath because they don't know what he's singing, and he's singing Latin. So I choose Latin. So now I can type in Kyria, on, and so on. I'll just demonstrate that by pressing play. And I would create an MP3 file for that, which I have done, and uploaded it to our website.